Fool me once and it's shame on me, but you know you better tread carefully. Fool me twice, I'm your enemy. I'm your enemy. If you push, I push back. Try to hide, but I'll hunt you down like a maniac. Down, you'll go down. So if you hide, I'm gonna hunt you down. Run, you better run. Vendetta, you better. Vendetta, you better. Vendetta, you better. Vendetta. Kindness never looked good on me. Never been one to sit quietly. Too late now to see irony in rivalry. Push, I push back. Try to hide, but I'm gonna hunt you down. Run, you better run. Vendetta, you better. Vendetta, you better. Vendetta, you better. Vendetta, you better run, you better run, you better run. Run, you better run, you better run, you better run. Run, you better run, you better run, you better run. You better run. Vendetta, you better. Vendetta, you better. Vendetta, you better. Fool me once and it's shame on me, but you know you better tread carefully.
Wake up first thing, always trying to get ahead. No more dreaming, fragments of it in my head. Addiction is compulsory, agreeing just to disagree. Pull ourselves apart into debris. 'Cause algorithms haunt me, air your dirty laundry, hang it all on me. Getting sick of scrolling down, 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 down. Messed up, give me your confession. Never learn our lessons. Getting sick of scrolling down, 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 down. nobody will care if you come in second place. But only show the artificial life you create. Fight to stay relevant, disregard our negligence. It's evident, it's prevalent. We've halted our development, doomed to repeat this cycle. Cause algorithms haunt me. Air your dirty laundry, hang it all on me. Getting sick of scrolling down, 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 down. Exhausted, think I finally lost it. Drew the line and crossed it. Getting sick of scrolling down, 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 down. We're gonna keep falling down, 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 down. The wheel will go on spinning round, 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 round. Never escape scrolling down, 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 down. This cycle keeps on going round, round, round.
Alright, I think everything is working fine. Hello, I've been told to expect some company, I'll say. There's still 21 videos in here. We didn't finish this one. I think I will start with that. As always, do not attack any of these people, whether they are the creator or mentioned in these videos. I do these streams to try to destigmatize a disorder that I live with every day, using my own research that I've done, which in the pinned comment, once this goes up on YouTube as a VOD, there will be a list of sources that we have put together. That wasn't my voice. List of sources in the pinned comment once this goes up on YouTube as a VOD. This is based on my own research that I've done, things that we've heard from other people who live with this disorder, and from our own experiences. We are by no means a professional. Please do your own research. This is just to correct misinformation with what we know.
Je ne sais quoi. Let's watch a day in my me. No, there's gonna be a teenager stunts like I'm safe is hiding this trauma from the rest of the system. So if your goal is to educate, stunts like this risk doing the opposite, because you know there's gonna be a teenager scrolling on TikTok and they're like, damn, I wish someone would clean my room for me or go to work for me. But c'est la vie, je ne sais quoi. Let's watch a day in my life and let's count my switches edition.
Hey everybody, it's Asher, the best alter, and today we're going to show you a day in our life, featuring a galaxy. Galaxy might show up again. First things first, let's get rid of this. April would literally end me right now. April would not let me live that down. It's short enough already. Also, FP, if you want your hoodie, come get it. Also, to y'all being thirsty over this angle, knock it off, quit it. I can only laugh so hard. We ended up changing like 4 times today. This was just like one of 4 shirts. This galaxy really do be calming us down. It really helps. Apparently April did not think we were cleaned up enough, and yep, she's instantly mad. Sammy actually bought us that, and we really need to start using it apparently. I get it, girl, it takes 5 seconds. I think this was her thanking me for cleaning the kitchen. That girl does not clean anything, so that would be nice. And to any of the parents out there, you ever mess with your kids' parental controls and then you can't figure out what you did, so you have to figure out the parental controls? Anyways, here's a flower. Apparently we're just supposed to put it in water and it'll grow. Now I'm not sure who took these videos. I'm gonna guess it was Aurora because that's Aurora's cat. That's Aurora. This was like after like 30 minutes, so this is really cool. Impressed. This is Chris. Chris with the animal tour. And if you've never had a hedgehog, this is what you get to see 90% of the day. It's in there somewhere. This is all they do. Art went on a candy run. Art goes on a candy run like once a week, and I'm not sure what she was doing here. Apparently it was just be a cat time. And yeah, me and Angel have affectionately started calling her the cat. Anytime we have to refer to her around people, we're just like, yeah, the cat just does stuff.
So if I remember correctly from when we were watching the A system, if I remember correctly, I could be completely wrong, but I think I remember them saying that Art in the inner world has cat ears, so that makes sense.
Let's be real, she likes it. And then we just spent the rest of the day playing chess with our son. All in all, it was a really good day.
Scrolling through their feed, a pattern really jumps out at me. A lot of the uploads look like a fun, upbeat lifestyle vlog rather than a rare trauma-based disorder.
I was actually talking with our therapist today because we just got out of therapy, maybe half an hour ago. And I had brought up to her that I was streaming after our session. And I told her about the types of streams that I do, meaning this. And I had brought up that people think that DID is very rare. So people like to fake claim other people based on that. And she had told me that within, I think, the 10 years that she's been there, we are the 5th DID system that she's seen. And that's just one therapist in one office. It's not rare, because children being traumatized and often abused is not rare, unfortunately. It's a childhood trauma disorder. It doesn't always have to be abuse, but abuse is the most common cause, rather than other traumas, such as natural disasters or medical trauma. So no, it's not rare, and no system owes you every aspect of their life. Yes, it's a trauma disorder, but that doesn't mean that we're constantly in that place. Just because we have good days that we may choose to post and share doesn't mean that we don't struggle at all. You only see what creators choose to put online.
Plenty of outfit changes, a hedgehog, cameos, candy runs. What I'm missing is some substantive education about dissociative identity disorder.
Okay, again, no one owes you education. No one owes you education. No one ever owes you education. Ever. Not even just about this, but about anything. don't remember what I was going to say. I would like my thoughts back, please. That one's just gone, but I have new ones. You don't see any dissociation in there. In there. I don't know whose accent that was. That was not mine. You only see what creators choose to post online. We can have very good days. We can have very bad days. We can have days that are both.
Clinically, DID is not a cast of people who are just waiting to be introduced. It's a complex coping response to severe and early trauma. Yeah, but that's kind of like if I were to come forward and make a TikTok account dedicated to my life with ADHD and I put it in my description. And I put some little sprinkles of misinformation in there. I'm like, well,
Sprinkles of misinformation like you're doing in this video? I will never understand. And this is another thing that I brought up to my therapist. I will never understand how it is always the people who've never experienced this disorder who make videos about it. People who are not professionals or educated about the disorder are always the ones making videos about it, and I do not understand.
ADHD is normally just in boys. It's really just when you're hyper and energetic. I mean, everyone's a little ADHD sometimes. You know what I mean? It's like, no, I'm not an educator. However, I'm also not giving a good look to the disorder that I am claiming to want to destigmatize. Real case.
I apologize for that. Apparently it is a very busy day.
Cases can involve overlapping memories, blurred identities, years of intensive therapy. Not so much a polished single take roll call that racks up the views on TikTok.
That wasn't a single take. Firstly, there were cuts. There were very clear cuts in that. So that's already incorrect. That could also be a good day for them. You also don't know how long they've been in therapy, how long they've been working on their system communication. You know nothing.
I cannot imagine living with DID. I've heard from different people with DID saying, like, these people who fake disorders online, it breaks my heart.
Yes, people fake it. But that's an issue that needs to be addressed as a whole, overall, not targeted at individuals. Because you don't know. You don't know.
While other people are like, I've got more important things to think about, such as working through trauma. So I checked out an episode of the Carlet Psychiatry podcast. It's hosted by Dr. Chris Aiken and Kelly Newsom, published March 18th of 2024. In it, they talk about dissociative identity disorder versus plural identity that is often seen in the teen and young adult online community. Here's a clip where they explain how plural identity can differ from DID.
These days, when we talk about DID, we need to address the emerging phenomenon of plural identity. Plural identity.
Excuse me? Okay, this person does not know what they are talking about, firstly. In the medical and scientific field, the word alter alter is used. There's no such thing as plural identity. That would be endogenic, which does not exist, and I've made a video about that, a stream about that. It's up as a VOD. Maybe if I remember, I'll put it in the pinned comment as well. What did I want to say? So you don't know, first off, you don't know how their memory gaps are. You do not. You don't. Straight up, you do not. And obviously, as healing and processing occurs, there is going to be less of that amnesia. Let me see. It'll stay on this if I'm here, right? Yes. Okay, I need to look into Mara. Did I spell it right? Yes. I found a LinkedIn profile, so let me... I'm not joining LinkedIn. Great, I cannot do that. But it seems to be, Carlet Publishing seems to be a blog. And Mara Government is one of the authors on here. If it would load, that would be fantastic. But of course, nothing wants to load when I'm trying to do research. Okay. Okay, it has her listed as an LCSW, which means Licensed Clinical Social Worker. But that's all the information that this website gives. besides the name, a picture, and 2 links, one to articles and the other to products. Let me look at this. This site is so slow. Oh, so the Carlet Psychiatry podcast you need to pay for. Let me look at articles. So this is already not a good source to be using. A lot of these articles seem to be based on children, but it varies very heavily. It does say that Joshua Fetter is an MD, but Mara Government has no title like that. Seems to be varied topics as well. And this is about children, teens. There's so many different things. ADHD. Here's the one about dissociative identity disorder. Medications. But I already don't trust a source. Or you need to pay for a podcast and you're advertising that on your profile. Where it doesn't have any information beyond you're a licensed clinical social worker, which is not a therapist and is not anyone qualified to be talking about this or treating anyone with it. This website is ridiculously slow. Like, ridiculously slow. Let me actually move these. Okay. There we go. It's still loading. A lot of things about autism, children and adolescents, but you can see how slow the website is. It's ridiculously slow. And I know for a fact it's not my internet. Our internet is fine. I'll open that in a new tab so you can see what I see. Mara Government, LCSW, articles, and products. Not a good source. The fact that the website is struggling to even load is not great. Okay. I'm Mara Government, a licensed clinical social worker in Southern California with private practice and an avid reader of the Carlet Psychiatry Report. I don't think that DID would be. I don't think that PTSD would necessarily be a misdiagnosis. Everyone with DID has CPTSD. Okay, this is very outdated. The usual therapy for DID involves the therapist getting to know the different personalities, often called alters, learning about the history that preceded their arrival, and working to resolve past traumas so that the alters can integrate into one dominant personality. What they're talking about here is final fusion, which is not the only way to treat DID. Functional multiplicity is also very valid. DID is different from internal family systems therapy. Very different. And also, people with DID can function in day-to-day life. So this is just stigmatizing it more, making it seem like no one with DID can live. To differentiate between the two, look for shared memories among the entities. That is what people typically report when they identify with plural identity. No. No. Let me. Does he have his own link? Alters can share memories. Okay. Dr. Joshua Fetter studied mathematics and medicine at Boston University, psychiatry at Naval Regional Medical Center, San Diego, serving the first Gulf War and Child and Adolescent Psychiatry Fellowship at Tripler Army Medical Center in Honolulu, and eventually became Chief of Child Psychiatry at the National Naval Medical Center in Bethesda. Dr. Fetter now practices in Solana Beach, California, and serves as Executive Medical Director at Positive Development, providing relationship-based support for families. Stuff about autism. Serves as co-chair of the Disaster and Trauma Committee at AACAP. Infant mental health. So the only thing about trauma that I see here that he could be knowledgeable in is referring to natural disasters. He has no background or training in being able to be specialized in trauma, which is necessary to be able to understand DID. So it's a source, it's just not a good source. And this is why people need to look more into sources and do their own research and not take the words of one creator, such as us, this goes for us too, as facts.
Is not recognized in the DSM-5, but is gaining popularity on social media. A TikTok community known as A System has 1.1 million followers as of 2021, with 910 million views on the hashtag DID.
That doctor is pointing to a real split. No pun intended, because of
Okay, not a doctor, as I've just shown. Not a doctor.
like the movie God Bless My Attempt at Jokes. They describe DID and then plural identity, when you feel like you're multiple selves, but you don't meet the criteria for DID. And on TikTok, those are blurring together. There are hundreds of thousands of hashtag DID, and plenty of creators are here using it without a diagnosis.
I've said this before, I'm going to say it again. Self-diagnosis is valid if you cannot get a diagnosis and if you have done the proper research. It's not just looking at a few videos and saying that you have it. It's years of research and reflection and self-observation. It's not quick.
That mashup might get your clicks, but it does muddy the understanding of a serious disorder.
This emergence of plural identity on social media platforms is driving a growing interest in the phenomenon. Some related research exists, particularly studies on what's called internal family systems therapy, IFST. The IFST model proposes that individuals, all of us, possess different internal parts or personalities. And we talk about this in everyday life. There's a part of me that's upset. There's a part of me that's also pretty happy about this. You know what I mean? So it could be like two different people the way IFST talks about it.
Plural identity is when we call our inner parts system mates or head mates.
No. No. No, 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 no. There are many different terms for alters that have been used in the DID community. We mainly use alters. Sometimes we will say headmate. It does not mean that we are using internal family system therapy. I suppose it could be something that you can look for if you are a professional treating someone, not a creator online trying to armchair diagnose someone.
Each are more or less aware of each other, and they can decide who fronts. Whereas DID switches tend to be more trauma-driven, involuntary, and
Depending on communication between alters within a system, depending on the environment, what's going on, everything. Depending on communication between alters in a system and environmental factors, and even maybe things that are going on inside the system, certain alters can talk to each other and communicate and coordinate with each other. It's not always a response to trauma.
usually leave gaps in memory. Because the A system can just switch on command right out the gate after being diagnosed, that would equal more so plurality than DID.
Okay, firstly, how do you know that is what... How do you know that is what has happened? You don't. You don't. You only show what they choose to share online. You don't know anything about how they function as a system. You don't know anything about the therapy that they've been through. You only know what they choose to share online.
The doctor isn't like handing down a diagnosis, but it's kind of like a reality check. If everything we see is deliberate and remembered, it doesn't fit the clinical picture for dissociative identity disorder. And that matters because calling plural identity DID blurs a serious trauma-based condition with something that isn't even in the DSM-5.
Again, plural identity, aka endogenic systems, do not exist. I did a whole stream on that and my issues with that.
At all.
In plural identity or multiplicity, the alters refer to themselves as headmates or system mates. They are co-conscious of each other and generally remember the events that occur during the day. This is different from DID, when memory gaps are present. Individuals who identify as plurals claim that they can consciously switch between headmates, where in DID, switching occurs in response to a traumatic event or stressor.
I do also wonder if this can be categorized as an endogenic system, as
I just rolled my eyes so hard that I grounded myself. Okay.
in someone claiming to be multiple identities without trauma. But internal family systems therapy, just so you know, everyone has an internal family system. For example, if you say, I'm not gonna drink alcohol all week, and then you turn around and drink the alcohol, like, you're kind of contradicting yourself, but that's not two different people in your head. You could argue that that is your firefighter inside your head. They are very reactive and urgent. How can I fix this now? It's actually a well-researched report that helps people integrate and understand their emotions. But, and this is the key, it's a therapeutic metaphor. Those parts aren't literally separate identities with their
Exactly. They're not separate identities.
their own separate memories. So I think what the podcast doctors are inferring is that people are mistaking this for actually having DID. And that
one, that is a very big claim to make. Because as I've shown on stream, neither of the neither of the people in that podcast had the qualifications to be speaking on DID in a professional setting like that. I suppose it could be a professional setting, you could argue, because they are advertising it as educational. They don't have the qualifications to be talking about that. They have no training in trauma-specific fields. Echo. No, I'm busy. I will let you know when I am done. Okay. What was I saying? I don't remember.
that's where solid therapy science and social media stories kind of start to fall apart. They're saying if everything this channel shows is accurate, conscious, on-demand switches, shared memory, no real amnesia, it does line up more with plurality than DID.
Again, you don't know anything besides what they choose to share.
Without ever saying, I don't think you have DID, they're just giving a professional reality check. They're pointing out that what's being presented online borrows language from therapy, but it still doesn't meet the clinical picture of DID.
Great. Online is not a clinical setting. End of discussion.
However, I also don't think that these people claiming to have DID, maybe some of them don't. I don't think that they're like these evil people who just want to spread all this disinformation. But if it were, I mean, they're getting gifts out of it.
Hi everybody, it's your friendly female alter art. We just did our Amazon wish list. I know people have been asking for that, but we had to rapid switch to do it. We were rapid switching and we were all up front trying to talk at the same time for about an hour. When we try to do things like that, it can be very disorienting for the system. Hey everybody, it's April from the A System. I just wanted to jump on here and say thank you to everybody that has sent us something in a P.O. box. Our P.O. box has been full for like the last week.
So again, with the captions in the video to make it seem like no, that's not important. Okay. Of course, the alters are going to be aware of that. One, these were obviously not filmed all at the same time, so time has passed. They switch very often mostly between the alters who are out the most often. They're frequent fronters. And a lot of them seem to have very good communication with each other, which is not uncommon. And obviously, they are all aware that they do social media, so they can look back on their own videos. And also, if they're going to check their mail and see a bunch of gifts, that's going to be kind of obvious. And even if they don't go to check mail and see that, if there are suddenly a bunch of new boxes in their house, it's not...
Got so many amazing things. I've got 3 wigs now that I can style and have it however I want. I've got makeup and makeup brushes so I can try out makeup. Art got cat ears, and Asher got a t-shirt, and Asher got a sign that says the best altar on it. Annie got some more t-shirts that she absolutely loves, and she also got a dress, which she does wear. I know we didn't get to do the unboxing on here, but we're thinking about doing unboxings for our YouTube channel. It'll probably be one of our first YouTube videos is unboxing videos.
They're like, listen, we've been dealing with hours of disorienting rapid switches, but now it's all chill because we got a bunch of P.O. boxes.
That's not even what they said. I don't think... Were those even in the same video? I don't think that was even in the same video. (2021) 4/5. And this was 2021 4/8. So no, it was not the same day. You're making it seem like it was the same day when it was not.
Get to do the unboxing on here, but we're thinking about doing unboxings for our YouTube channel. It'll probably be one of our first YouTube videos is unboxing videos.
They're like, listen, we've been dealing with hours of disorienting rapid switches, but now it's all chill because we got a bunch of P.O. box stuff. Supportive gifts are fine, but pairing mental health updates with gifts hauls kind of blurs the line between a diagnosis and marketing an online persona. So it's easy to see why some viewers are starting to question if these gifts are following the story or driving it. Each
What?
dramatic switching clip to me looks like it's coinciding with these Amazon deliveries. Whether it is planned or not, it to me kind of creates a cycle. Post a dramatic moment, receive items, then film the next reveal. Next is a clip that shows how sudden these on-camera switches can look, starting with a spilled drink and ending with the flawless cleanup of another altar.
What up? It's Asher. The best altar. I'm turn this down a little bit because we're kind of whited out a little bit. You gonna change for me or not? Ah! Oh no! Oh, I fucked up. I fucked up. I'm gonna get a towel for the very expensive computer.
You're an idiot. All right, hold on. Hold on, everybody. 1 second. Did you break it? We are, rapid switching horribly. We've switched.
So they say it in that video that they are rapid switching, for one. Second, it seems like Alex was already very close to the front, if not co-fronting. Switches can be very quick. Switches can be very long and dissociated and take a while. But they were already rapid switching. Of course, something sudden like that is going to
Probably 100 times today at least.
Watch the sequence very closely. They're saying they switched 100 times today. So one identity spills water on a laptop. They immediately switch and the other takes over. They grab a towel and narrow.
From what I got from that, it seems like Asher was flustered and panicking a little bit, which is understandable in a moment like that. Alex is their primary protector. He was already very close. They were already rapid switching, which does not surprise me that they got to over 100 switches because they were rapid switching. Whether they choose to stream during a rapid switch episode like that is their choice. We personally would not, because rapid switching for us is exhausting and very disorienting. That's our experience. I'm not going to say that's every system's experience because I don't know. I can only speak for us. But it's not surprising to me that that would happen.
Cleaning it up without missing a beat. Rapid switching is real, but mental health professionals describe it as unpredictable and physically taxing. Even in systems where there is a lot of co-consciousness, it can take a moment for the new identity to start orienting. Even in systems where
not necessarily if they are co-fronting, which I don't know for sure if that is what happened in that video. I'm saying from what it looked like, that could be the case. Because it did look like Asher and Alex were co-fronting. Again, I don't know for sure. Do not take that as fact, but that is what it seemed like.
Where there is co-consciousness, it can take a second for the person to come front and orient. Here, the changeover is flawless. It seems more like a relay handover than an involuntary episode. That doesn't mean it's staged. Some systems do experience unusually high amounts of co-consciousness. I mean, especially if we've been in therapy for years. But this seamless camera-ready transition under stress was enough to make viewers be like,
so, DID is a survival mechanism formed from severe repeated childhood trauma. Not all switches are going to be obvious. We've had switches where it has been like that. I don't need a break, YouTube.
A little bit sus. Whether it's an extraordinary case or a segment that's shaped for TikTok pace, it does explain why there is so much debate being sparked. So they do have these top 5 core personalities who get along very well, and that could explain these switches. However, what about this video where they switch and they don't know what's going on?
Do you as gatekeeper not have amnesic barriers? Oh, it's what was I talking about? Why'd I switch out?
This moment stands out to me because it is breaking the system's own patterns.
No, it's not. No, it's not. It's not. Switches can look different day to day, altar to altar, even two of the same altars. Two of their switches could look completely different. No.
Earlier, the Gatekeeper altar is saying she rarely experiences memory gaps. Yet
That wasn't a memory gap, that was dissociation. It's a dissociative disorder. Memory gaps are usually referred to relating to switches between altars. That was dissociation.
Sentence here, she stops, forgets what she's saying, and she's like talking to herself, why did I switch? This isn't the only
That's not what happened.
time something like this has happened. Sometimes a new identity will step in and remember everything. Other times it's a complete blackout. So my question here would be, what happened to make it so that the memories did not carry over this?
Dissociation. Thank you. And that's just
time, while other times they might. Devil's advocate, to be fair, DID is far from simple. Specialists explain that the mind can build these walls between different identities as a response to early trauma. For most people, a scent can be like, this smells just like that one thing in my kindergarten class. Whereas for someone with DID, a scent can trigger forward a moment of intense stress and abuse. I mean, so that could explain why the switches can vary so widely. It all
switches vary between altar to altar based on communication, based on what's going on, based on a lot of things. Not every switch is going to look the same. We've had very quick switches. I think even on stream we've had very quick switches and very dissociated switches. We've been thinking of making sort of a switch compilation and posting it as a video to desensationalize and normalize switching. So I don't know if you've gotten this far in the VOD. Tell us your thoughts on that. Hi. I don't seem to see... Okay. That seems to be your first message, at least that YouTube and Streamlabs is showing us. But hello, welcome in.
depends on the system structure, but with that being said, the timing is still curious. One of the very rare full gaps just shows up while they're on camera. Maybe it's a coincidence. Maybe the act of filming put pressure on them and triggered an amnesic switch. So it can either be the condition is unpredictable and it's not like, oh, I was triggered by this, therefore this altar will 100% come out. But it also helps us understand why moments like this spark a debate about what is really happening on screen.
Okay, it's none of your business to know what is happening in their system. First off, you're not qualified to debate on their disorder. That's fucked up.
Up next is a moment that really made me pause. Listen to how casually they describe switching 100 times a day, and even waiting in something that's called the front room when taking turns on camera.
Yes. We have a front room in our inner world. I know Echo is up here somewhere. Not nearly as close as she was before. And I think someone else might be up here too.
In order to switch in our system, you have to be in the front room, and then you can switch in. 5 of us pretty much hang out in there all the time. Me, April, Asher, Chris, and Alex.
I would love to see a source for this. Oh, that's weird. Yeah, YouTube is definitely glitching. I did not get any of those messages. Is it okay if I read your messages out that I did not get? Because YouTube is definitely glitching. I don't think we have any filters on, at least in chat. Let me see. Chat filter. All messages. Even if I go on to live chat instead of top chat, it's still not showing up. But Duncan's first message was, I absolutely hate uneducated people, especially those who don't have DID. Agreed. It's always people who don't have the disorder who are debating on whether people with the disorder have it. But also, there's no source to this. Of course, there's no sources. None of these videos ever have any sources. There was the one from before, which I went over and showed that it was not a reliable or good source. Yeah, there's no held messages. I'm very confused as to what YouTube is doing. Yeah, I did not get that message either. Michelle is clearly not educated on the topic. She reminds me of Spoctor Tech before he was outed. I don't know anything about Spoctor, so I can't speak on that. That is very irritating that YouTube is doing that. Very irritating. I don't understand. And I wish YouTube would not do that. Settings, maybe? Maybe I shouldn't do that in the tab that I'm streaming. I will just continue, but switching doesn't always cause a lot of strain. And definitely not immense strain. And again, they said that they were rapid switching.
We call ourselves the Front 5 because we're always fronting. We switch 100 times a day. We're good at it. So when we want to shoot videos with more than one of us in there, we usually just go to the front room and wait our turn. If y'all would like to see more switching videos, let us know in the comments.
I mean, they
Yeah, I don't understand why YouTube is not showing your messages. That's irritating. TLDR, Spectre made a video about DID, and a lot of people with DID tore it to pieces. Oh, is it still up? Is there an archive of it? I think that would be interesting to go over. Okay. See, that message showed up. I don't understand. You think it was? Okay. Also, hello, Anne. Yeah, if anyone can get me a link. Then I will definitely. Okay, thank you, Duncan. I will be looking for your message. But I'm going to say straight up, it does not cause immense stress to the body and mind to switch. It's how our brain was built and developed.
are, in my opinion, making it sound kind of like switching is as easy as walking into a lounge and just grabbing a mic. Like there's just a
For some systems, for some altars, for some situations, yes.
waiting room in the brain and everyone hangs out there until it's time to turn on the camera. In clinical descriptions of DID, switches aren't exactly something you schedule. Some people with DID do describe an internal world, somewhere you go for parts to communicate. But some therapists stress it is a metaphor to explain your experience, not so much literally queuing up to go on camera. What makes us step back for a second is that a system is kind of bragging about having 100 switches a day. Not a handful of switches, not 10, not 20, but 100.
If that's how their system functions, personally, I don't see an issue with that. If they are able to function like that, then I cannot speak on that. If we had 100 switches a day, we definitely could not function. But if they can function with 100 switches a day, then more power to them. That's how I see that. Because every system is different and functions differently.
If you have DID, I'd love to hear your perspective because that sounds like a very disorienting day. Clinically, switches like that would be exhausting. For a lot of people with DID, that might completely shred your daily routine, but a system seems to go through it seamlessly after
That may just be how their system functions, which is valid.
just being diagnosed. I mean, I'm just, from my perspective, so that if you don't have DID, I guess the closest way we could understand is imagine, you know, going throughout your day, doing your work, doing your homework, whatever, going through every emotion under the sun, like inside out, going back and forth, angry, sad, happy, whatever. It's like too exhausting, but worse because amnesia. It's not just implausible, but it's also something that can cause extreme.
I know that was meant as a metaphor, but that's a very not great way of describing it, because alters are not just emotions. Even our alters who are emotion holders are more than just the emotions that they hold.
Extreme strain on the body's circuitry, including, what's this? Your vagus nerve that helps keep your heart rate and mood steady. Before we finish, I do just want to step back and say, this isn't about the A system. This is about TikTok and the online community as a whole.
Your title says otherwise, but alright.
Platform Platforms like TikTok can turn mental health into awareness, but they can also turn real disorders into quick entertainment. We've seen how spectacle and gifts can overshadow education, and how easy it is for self-diagnosed creators to turn rare conditions into personal brandings. The results: genuine advocates are doubted, misinformation spreads, and young viewers start to think, no, this is what DID just looks like.
I had a thought, and I don't remember what I was going to say.
Spectacle and gifts can overshadow education, and how easy it is for self-diagnosed creators to turn rare conditions into...
That's what I was going to say. It's not a rare condition. Already spoken on this. I think I'm done with this video. Any update on to whether you found the Spoctor video? I think it would be interesting to react to that on stream. Oh, perfect. Perfect. Oh, trigger warnings. Okay, let's go through this. Trigger warnings, flashing images and lights. Be careful if you're sensitive to that. Medical misinformation, child abuse, CSA, mental abuse, substance abuse, in-depth descriptions of child abuse. Okay. I don't understand why YouTube is doing that. I'm genuinely not seeing those messages. That's very frustrating. There's no filters in our chat or anything. Understandable. That was a long, just warning screen. See, I see that emoji that you sent. Very long warning screens. Descriptions of people with PTSD and CPTSD as broken. Wow. See, I see those two messages too. I don't understand what YouTube is doing. Because it's not giving me any options to see any filtered comments. Hold on. Live chat moderation, none. Don't hold any messages. It might be because we have so many blocked words. Which, that is an issue that it's connected. because we have that for our comments. Let me see. I don't understand. YouTube needs to have chat moderation separate from comment moderation. Okay, already starting out. This is not great. Do I need to explain why that's an issue? I'm not talking about even the imagery yet, I'm talking about the sound. Oh. Oh. That's... That's... I only see where you said genuine question for the tone tag. I don't see anything before that. It has to be because of the blocked words that we have. But even with that, it should be filtering it so that we have to manually approve things. It shouldn't be where we can't see it at all. The music, okay. Right, so this is a disorder that develops in childhood. And based on the warnings, I don't think I have to. Okay. Three words. What the fuck? Let me see if I can. No, the blocked word should only be for the channel, not this video. So I don't understand. I can already tell that this is going to be a very hard video to sit through. But I did ask for it. Okay.
Do you remember being a child? Likely not. Much of that era of my life is vaguely remembered. There are points of my life Wait, have I said this before?
Yeah, that's what I'm getting from this, that he's not very educated and this is going to be rough. That entire beginning was absolutely vile. Just vile. I'm going to give another warning here. I know I already said this. If you're sensitive to flashing lights and images, I would just not watch this.
Something I've always found interesting about dreams is how easy it is to forget what really happens in them. People can have some of the most vivid dreams and yet never recall any strong recollection of what really happened. It's kind of freaky when you think about it. Why do I not remember this vivid mental experience? Is it not important? Maybe our mind is just protecting us from tormenting ourselves with vivid nightmares in our past. I have woken up in cold sweats from dreams I cannot remember. I try so hard, but I can't. Maybe that's for the best. Why would I want to? It's not like it's the real world after all. A lot of my childhood feels like a vivid dream. I can recall a story in my life that I remember as if it were a dream. I was 4 years old. My birthday was tomorrow. It was around maybe 5 a.m. in the morning, and I just woke up before a majority of my family. I knew that there was a cake downstairs that was just full of sugar and sweetness. I recollect walking around the upstairs in the house for a moment, and then time jumps to me reaching for that delicious cake on the countertop downstairs. Something happened. I don't recall what, but I know I got in trouble for it. And I know that we needed to have a new cake because of it. It's something I just really can't remember well. Just describing this event right now, I actually recollect walking down the staircase very vaguely. It was pretty dark, and the world around me had this tint of blue on it. Get this, I do remember now going back up the stairs as well to wake up my family full of dread. I knocked over the cake. I know I knocked over the cake. Why the fuck can I not actually, remember the act of doing it? I remember the result of the cake falling over. I know we needed to get a new one. I remember verbally telling my family that I knocked it over. I remember the cake knocked over. But why the fuck don't I remember the actual act of it falling down? Why don't I remember actually knocking it over? The human mind is a very fascinating thing. It manages to...
I can't be too mad at that comparison, actually. Because that's a very real thing that happens. But that doesn't just going to keep watching.
Very easily filter out memories. It manages to scatter events that it deems important. Sometimes the mind can even take care of itself. It can build these barriers and defense to things that would otherwise hurt to remember. I got a black eye one time as a 6-year-old. My eye was busted open and bleeding everywhere. I tripped while running around a pool and fell onto the corner of a diving board. Yet the only reason I know this even happened is because 7 years later my family told me. Because they were the ones that took care of it. I was bewildered to even be told that this was something that had happened. This entire event of my life was basically ripped out of my memory, gone, destroyed. Why? A defense mechanism? Yet I've always hated running around pools. It was just some distinct desire that I had to avoid, running around pools. I subconsciously just stopped doing it, despite never even remembering the event that made me want to stop in the first place. Now I'm an adult. I remember things vividly and clearly. Oftentimes, the events in my life I forget are usually minuscule and unimportant, but I'd remember getting a brutal black eye at the age of 21. I'd remember dropping a birthday cake on the floor at the age of 21. I'd remember being brutally punished for my mistakes at the age of 21. I would remember all of that. It's almost like this section of my childhood was like a different person or some other.
It's normal to forget things about your life, especially early. It doesn't mean that there's a different It doesn't mean that you have alters who hold those memories. It just means that those memories have been repressed or pushed back or just deemed unimportant.
Other identity that I had. Or maybe I didn't have one at all. These memories just ended up fading into nothingness and went away when I turned 10 and formed a central identity, I guess. The childhood brain is scattered. It's so hard to recall the huge events of my life. I don't even remember moving out of my first home. Hell, I don't even remember moving out of my second one either.
I suppressed, I'm trying to find a better word for it, but I can't. That's the best word I have for it.
Just here in my current home. I know I'm supposed to be here. I know there were events that led up to this point, but here I am. And that concept brings us to such an intensely powerful perspective on today's video. This concept of amnesia barriers. Dissociative identity disorder, according to Google, is a disorder characterized by the presence of 2 or more distinct personality states. Dissociative identity disorder, previously called multiple personality disorder, is usually a reaction to trauma as a way to help a person avoid bad memories. Dissociative identity disorder is characterized by the presence of 2 or more distinct personality identity. Each may have a unique name, personal history, and characteristics. Treatment is usually talk therapy. Dissociative identity disorder is a very commonly faked disorder. Either intentionally or unintentionally. There are groups of people in very specific communities who use it as either coping mechanisms, roleplay, or as this simple explanation for certain events in their life. The
DID is not as rare as people like to believe it is, unfortunately. Yes, there are people who fake it, but it's not the majority, like people like to make it out to be.
The reason why this disorder deserves proper publicity is because of the large amount of information circling around the modern dissociative identity community. Many people are live-action role-playing as popular and famous people on the internet, doing these anti-recovery roleplays like source calls and yada yada. Incredible amount of misinformation circling around this community is outstanding. Many young people are latching onto DID as a way to express themselves without having done any fucking research on it. It's common for people in this community to pressure their friends into identifying as a system, or to pressure them into splitting certain types of alters or personality states, claiming that, like, you can be pregnant in your mind?
Genuinely, I've heard of that before. Of alters being pregnant. That's never happened with us. I can't speak on it happening with other systems. I've heard of it. That's about the extent of my knowledge on that.
There's a small handful of people that treat DID like a fad, when it should absolutely be nothing but. The first question one may have is, well, how real is this disorder? And let me be one of the first to tell you that this disorder is very, very real. Contrary to somewhat YouTube TikTok compilations might say about it labeling, a lot of the renditions of this disorder as, quote, fake, it's just a very generalized and short-sighted viewpoint of the disorder. These TikToks do not at all perfectly represent what this disorder
A TikTok is never going to perfectly represent a disorder.
is and what it's about. And that's one of the slight issues behind these TikToks that are placed within these compilations. There's a lot of questions you might ask in regards to the people in these TikTok videos and their mental health. One of these questions being a question of integrity, and then another question being a question of respect towards a disorder that is very, very detrimental. A lot of the times when you hang around people enough, you start to reflect their personality, and that is the same with people with DID. Sometimes you'll hang around people that you know very well and start to basically introject their personality.
No. Where do I even start with that? That was just worded very badly. That was no. Alters form because of trauma and stress. Not just from hanging around someone.
Well, sometimes this can cause splits in personality, but usually it's only triggered via trauma. Introjects are most commonly things in your childhood that were close with you, such as abusers, caregivers, pets, friends, abusers, unfortunately being the most common. It is very common for people to introject people that they know. When something traumatic happens to them, they start to take the personality traits of the people that were around them at the time. Whatever they take with them is something they feel like will protect them later down the line. This is why people who are traumatized by other people around them start reflecting the identity of their abusers. It's not a good thing, but it just ends up happening. But it's always common to introject people that you know. It's very uncommon to introject people that you don't know.
Incorrect. And this is where things like fictives come into play. If you are going through a time of trauma or stress, depending on your stress tolerance level, depending on your stress tolerance level, what was I talking about? let me just give an example from our system. When we were growing up and being abused heavily, one of the things that we always used sort of as an escape was things like TV shows. One of our favorite TV shows was always Power Rangers. We have a whole subsystem full of fictives from there. Because we were being abused and used that as an escape, and always had the thought process of well, if we were one of these people in the show, then we could protect ourselves. I need to move on from that before I trigger myself.
It's incredibly rare, which is why it's really suspicious when a lot of
It's not rare. Child abuse and childhood trauma is not rare.
dissociative identity communities start mass interjecting Technoblade after his passing. Like, interjection's a super personal thing. Those you don't know, you likely will not interject. You could still interject, a character, but
I mean, if you're using something as an escape, especially to cope with trauma and stress, why do you think we've had 2 different Markiplier interjects? We still have one, I think. And one of them fused with Vion when Vion still existed.
it's very unlikely. The mass amount of Technoblade alters we're seeing is just really weird. The thing about when you interject somebody is that they're not who their original source is, and it
Yeah. They're based on that person or character. Yeah, I know. I do know that much. We never watched Technoblade. We don't have a Technoblade alter. I don't think we have any Minecraft people. I know that we have a Wednesday. We split her even, I think, months before we even watched the show.
should never be treated that way. It just comes off as delusional and disrespectful and borderline impersonation in the case.
Impersonation. This is something I feel strongly about because we have a factive of someone abusive and have been accused of impersonating the abuser because that factive exists. It's not impersonation.
of interjecting celebrities. This explains that phenomenon on TikTok when people pretend or, you know, act like their dream and their alter brain, because sometimes they interject them. Is it real? Are the people faking it? We don't fucking know. But it's always really interesting to look at because it's such a rare thing to happen, and
It's not rare.
we're seeing it everywhere.
3, 2, 1, go!
So, riddle me this. If DID and other dissociative disorders are a result of trauma, I really am curious what trauma Corpse Husband or Wilbur Suit and Angel Dust have. Because
Not all alters hold trauma. Not all alters are trauma holders. I hold trauma. Echo has some trauma, but isn't a trauma holder. Lotus in our system is an external caretaker. She's aware of some trauma, but doesn't hold any herself. Nia is not a trauma holder. Nia is a sleep helper and soother. I don't know if Nia's aware of any trauma. I know that Nia used to be a nightmare holder. Nia also used to be 2 other alters, kind of fragments, both named Nia, which is confusing. Because one fragment named Nia used to exist to keep us from sleeping, and then the second fragment named Nia was split off to hold nightmares, and then they fused, and this Nia that we have now goes by Nia. I'm gonna give myself a headache thinking about that.
genuinely, if splits are a result of trauma, and the personalities that derive from them typically reflect a source of how and when that trauma occurred, how did you split into Angel Dust? How did
If they were using that media to cope at that time with whatever they were going through, then that's not surprising to me. I don't know anything about Angel Dust, but they may have also related to some of the personality traits or some of the situations in the show involving Angel Dust.
you split into Wilbur Suit? How would somebody split into Corpse Husband? And also, why tell the entire online world and expect people to just be content with it?
Because fictives and factives are people too. And they deserve to be able to exist and introduce themselves if they feel comfortable.
Usually you don't split something you're not familiar with. Like your favorite Dream SMP YouTuber, you don't know them personally. It's very, very uncommon to split
It's not. It's not.
into something like that. So it's very concerning when we see 1,000 different people that split into them. Do not interact if you're blank blank blank. Do not interact if you're mentally stable.
I don't agree with DNI lists that have while I do not agree with DNI lists that have things like don't interact if you do not have DID or OSDD. Not having DID or OSDD does not necessarily mean that you are mentally stable, and having DID or OSDD does not automatically mean that you are not mentally stable.
What? I mean, I guess if you want to have your own bubble and your own echo chamber. I mean, overall, it's a pretty bad idea to cut out people who fall into a specific group. That's the fastest way to have a very limited worldview and keep yourself from basically exploring the potential.
How are you okay with that one, but not these two? I don't.
Potential of the world and the people around you. It's very, very unhealthy. When typing/talking is hard for Oliver, arf, cool, bark, good, bark, bad, bark, confuse, bark, yes, bark. This is kind of extreme, don't you think? South Park fictives. Damn, the entirety of South Park? Holy shit.
It's possible we don't have South Park fictives. We've never watched South Park. We've heard of systems who have them. They're valid. They exist.
I am a minor, but is it normal for a me, 15, not bodily, to be attracted to 9-year-olds?
Oh my god.
Not bodily. So you're not 15. You know, the age.
Let me put it this way. Bodily, we are 26. But our host Echo is 22. Bodily, we are 26. But our alter Juniper is 7 years old. Bodily, we are 26, but our alter Perseus is 35.
Just different in your brain, but you're not bodily. No, that's just pedophilia. Just because.
Agree, it is, but let's not disregard alter age being different than the physical age.
An alter is like 2 years old does not fucking mean you will act like a 2-year-old.
I mean, sometimes yes, sometimes no. It depends on the alter and the system.
That is a completely different fucking discussion.
I really love that outfit.
That's delusion, because an alter is.
Okay, let's not use words like delusion.
Fucking 15 doesn't mean you get to prey on kids.
Agreed.
We have to put a fucking line in the sand here.
We're deleting TikTok.
Clarice, are these clear?
You know what this is. I'm sure you've seen these all over the place if you keep up with the mental health TikTok shit. The systems, the alters, fucking Technoblade alters. Yeah, the Technoblade alters. You heard me right. You know what this is. Do not look to these people for your generalized information on the disorder they stand upon. A lot of them stand on the podium of DID, but show such little respect to the disorder they claim to have. They don't respect the condition, nor do they respect other people around them by being so openly ignorant to it. This is a vastly bastardized version of the disorder. It's being misconstrued and misunderstood by even the people that claim to have it. Dissociative identity disorder is a very difficult thing to recognize. It's even harder to describe, and it's nearly impossible to understand, even by some people who have it. Have you heard of shamanism? It's a spiritual religious practice that involves a connection with the spirit world. It's mainly an Eastern religious practice, however, it still can be prevalent in other major regions across the globe. The way they go about this connection is by bridging altered states of consciousness to an individual by placing them into a trance. When someone is in a state of trance, they are in a state of half-consciousness. They're unresponsive to external stimuli, or they're usually very selective about the stimuli that they do respond to. Many examples of trances can correspond to meditation, hypnosis, and prayer. And during a shaman practice, it's usually voluntary to dive into a state of mental absence. The reason shamans place individuals into trances is to direct spirits or energies into the physical world through the shell of the individual under the trance. The shaman practice is believed to be therapeutic, enlightening, and relieving to the individual underneath the trance. This is the concept of dissociation. The trance that individuals are placed under is a dissociative state from reality. It's a dissociation from reality. Dissociation can take on many forms. Religion is one of the few many forms this phenomenon can occur. However, dissociation can occur in day-to-day life as well, such as the party lifestyle. Ketamine is a drug that causes...
Okay. You don't need to do drugs to experience dissociation.
Dissociative properties. PCP is another drug that also causes a hyper-dissociation, and it's also highly addictive. However, one of the most recognizable instances of dissociation in drugs is within alcohol. Consuming a...
Why are we talking about drugs? Why is this being brought up? It has nothing to do with DID.
A large amount of alcohol can induce large dissociative effects. When you are disconnected with your decisions, choices, and thoughts, when you have very minimal control over emotions and feel like you're on this chemical autopilot, this is something that happens inside the brain due to the reaction of alcohol. It's a chemical effect of alcohol in the bloodstream, and it's entirely possible for a misconfigured biological chemistry to also induce this effect naturally. For example, when people are on a severe lack of sleep, they feel this sense of dissociation. They feel giggly, bubbly, and scrambled. A lot of what they do, they have minimal autonomy over, and they feel disconnected from reality due to that minimal lack of sleep. Shamanism is the act of basically deliberately giving your body this effect. Doing this allows your troubles to bubble to the surface, like meditation. When those troubles surface, you can face them internally and battle them on the inside. For a long period of time, I went through regular meditation. It was something I used to do during very stressful periods of my life. I was never really the best at it, but being able to pull myself out of a mental state and kind of receive a momentary break from the stress was very, very helpful for me. It allowed me to have a fresh narrative upon coming back into reality. Meditation's a very healthy dissociation, unlike alcohol. When people drink to deal with their problems, it's a lack of control over the
This
dissociation.
has nothing to do with DID.
Your body is chemically bound to it upon the choice to consume it. You could begin to act out, lash out, and do things without the autonomous control. You can't snap yourself out of it because you didn't tie yourself to a sober stake. You used the chemicals to induce the effect, and only time can pull you back into reality. This is part of why drinking can further dive people down a dark hole. It's because they become hooked on that extreme dissociation to cope, and then start to cause issues around them. This chemical dissociation typically causes a lot of damage to the people who end up coping using it, and unfortunately, a lot of the time, some people don't have an option. When a child is grown into an abusive family, there's not really many outlets for them to mentally survive. And when a child has a family history of individuals who use dissociation, they're very susceptible to it. The brain tends to default to this dissociative state to deal with traumatic occurrences. And oftentimes getting blackout drunk and dissociating when you drink too much alcohol, extreme mental dissociation can also cause this effect of memory loss, just like alcohol. And so the brain copes using it, because that's all it has to its disposal, just like that black eye I don't remember having. Dissociation is a way to cope, whether it's used healthily or unhealthily, whether it's done chemically with alcohol, or it's done medicinally using meditation. The major difference between the two is one is extremely unhealthy for you in the long run. When kids dissociate when they're abused, just like alcohol, they have no control over it. It's not voluntary, it's involuntary. And so the brain develops this responsive trigger to problems in their life. And so it's chaotic, it's a mess, and it's really hard to voluntarily pull yourself out. And so it wouldn't be too inaccurate to compare this disorder to being constantly drunk.
No. No. Wow. No. No. What else is there to say besides no?
When something happens to you, because being drunk helps you get over it, right? When someone breaks up with you and you drink to forget, that's healthy, right? When someone beats you and you have no control.
What the actual fuck? How long is this video? How much more do we have? Can I push through it?
Over it and can't defend yourself. Get drunk, right? For people with DID, the body says yes. Even if you haven't drinking alcohol, you're dissociating, whether you like it or not. That was a switch?
No, that seemed to be just a joke.
You spinned. You willingly will just will another alter into existence by performing a fucking JoJo move? You just, state switch. I did a spin. I'm pretty certain switches are a lot less voluntary and a lot more subtle. Like, hell, in some instances, switches are so subtle that outside parties hardly notice them. Tends to be this fad on TikTok where people record their switches and post them online. I'm not entirely sure how they fucking managed to set this up, considering how sudden and unexpected a lot of switches occur.
I can feel it coming on.
Having nobody in the body is a pretty bold claim.
I can't speak on... I can't speak on that because we've never experienced that. Someone always has to be fronting in our system. I don't know how it is in other systems.
Dissociation is a transitional state between switches. It's not this fade out, fade back in type of situation. It's a altered state of consciousness. It's not a lack of consciousness. Having nobody in the body is a thing called passing out. If you're incrementally passing in and out of consciousness, you got a whole other problem going on, dude. Maybe they're confusing this nobody in the body with this brain fuzziness that comes with dissociation.
Maybe. Who are we to say? You don't know them, I don't know them, we don't know their experience. End of.
Like, who knows? But it's very unsettling that this sort of simple information is being propagated incorrectly like this. You kind of rise like an undead anime villain character. You like pop your skeletal joints.
Is the editing necessary? Is my first question, and probably the only question I can voice without being smited by YouTube.
Into place as you rise from the undead and then stare at the protagonist very intensely.
online. And Elsie, I'm Elsie, and I'm wearing my onesie.
Dude, I don't know what you have, but this is definitely more than just DID. This is some, like, real troubled shit. I don't know why you would want to post this online.
Dragon, what are you doing? Oh my god, I know. Low on storage, I know. You've been streaming for 2 hours. I need to go. I'll finish this video maybe next time I stream.